Every major street drug explained. Drugs are everywhere in our culture. They're in the music you listen to, the movies you watch, the news headlines, and the history books. But most people don't actually understand what these substances are, where they came from, or what they do to the human body. So this is a straight, no-nonsense explainer. Not to glamorize any of this. Honestly, the opposite. But so that you actually understand the real story behind the most famous drugs in the world. Let's break them down, one by one. Quick note before we start. This is educational. Every single substance here is illegal or heavily controlled for serious reasons, and you'll see exactly why as we go. This is about understanding, not endorsing. Marijuana, also called weed or cannabis. Let's start with the most common one. Marijuana is the most commonly used federally illegal drug in the United States, with tens of millions of Americans having tried it. Weed comes from the cannabis plant. The active ingredient is a chemical called THC, which is what produces the high. When someone uses it, THC interacts with receptors in the brain, typically producing relaxation, altered senses, giggliness, a distorted sense of time, and, famously, hunger, the munchies. But it can also cause anxiety, paranoia, and impaired memory, especially in higher amounts. Culturally, weed is everywhere. Snoop Dogg has basically built half his public persona around it. Willie Nelson, Seth Rogen, Wiz Khalifa, the whole stoner comedy genre of movies. It's the most normalized illegal drug on Earth, and it's now legal in many U.S. states, though still illegal federally and in most of the world. Cocaine. Now we go up several gears. Cocaine is a powerful stimulant, and its history is wild. It's derived from the leaves of the coca plant, native to South America, where indigenous cultures have chewed coca leaves for thousands of years. Here's the part that surprises people. For many years, cocaine was completely legal and was an active ingredient in all sorts of products. There was even a pinch of coca in the original 1886 recipe for Coca-Cola before the company switched to cocaine-free coca leaves in the early 1900s. As a drug, cocaine triggers the brain to release a flood of dopamine, producing an intense, euphoric high that typically only lasts around 15 to 30 minutes. Because the high is so short, people tend to take it again and again, which is what makes it so addictive. The crash afterward is rough, and it puts enormous strain on the heart, causing heart attacks and seizures, even in young, healthy people. In pop culture, cocaine is practically its own genre. The Wolf of Wall Street is basically a monument to it. Scarface, Narcos, the entire 1980s excess era. It's long been associated with wealth, nightlife, and self-destruction all at once. Crack cocaine. Closely related is crack, which is cocaine processed into a hard, smokable rock form. It's even more addictive than powder cocaine. It produces a faster, more intense high that fades even quicker, which drives compulsive use. Crack devastated many American communities in the 1980s and became the center of a massive and racially unequal wave of the war on drugs. Heroin. Now for one of the most dangerous drugs in the world. Heroin is an opioid made from morphine, which comes from the opium poppy plant. The history here is genuinely dark. In 1898, the Bayer Pharmaceutical Company aggressively marketed heroin as a cough and tuberculosis treatment, and even as a supposedly non-addictive replacement for morphine. That backfired catastrophically, with hundreds of thousands of people becoming addicted before laws were passed to control it. Heroin produces a powerful rush of euphoria and warmth, followed by a heavy, drowsy, sedated state. But it causes severe physical dependence and overdose, and the body quickly comes to need it just to feel normal. Withdrawal is agonizing. It's consistently ranked among the most harmful drugs that exist, both to users and to society. Culturally, heroin haunts the history of music, tied to the deaths of countless artists. It's associated with the grunge era, with jazz, with figures like Kurt Cobain, and it's the subject of films like Trainspotting, which very much did not make it look glamorous. Fentanyl. Heroin's even deadlier modern cousin. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, meaning it's made in a lab, and it is astonishingly potent, many times stronger than heroin. Because such a tiny amount can be lethal, and because it's increasingly mixed into other street drugs without users knowing, fentanyl has become one of the drugs most frequently involved in overdose deaths. This is the substance at the center of the modern overdose crisis. It's less a recreational choice and more a lurking danger inside the entire street drug supply. Methamphetamine. Meth. Meth is a powerful, highly addictive stimulant. It can cause serious long-term damage, including to the heart and lungs, severe tooth decay, and lasting mental health problems. It creates an immediate, intense high that fades quickly, so users take it repeatedly, which makes it extremely addictive. Long-term use is notoriously destructive. Extreme weight loss, skin sores, severe dental problems, and symptoms like paranoia, hallucinations, and delusions. Interestingly, in a controlled prescription form, it's actually still an approved medication for certain conditions, but the illicit version is a different beast entirely. In pop culture, meth is inseparable from Breaking Bad. The entire show is built around its production, and that series did more to inform the public about this drug than any documentary. MDMA, also known as ecstasy or Molly. MDMA is a man-made drug that acts as both a stimulant and a mild hallucinogen. It floods the brain with chemicals, including serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine, which alters mood and makes people feel emotionally close and connected to others. That's why it's often called the love drug and is tied to rave and festival culture and electronic dance music. But it has real dangers. It can spike heart rate and body temperature to dangerous levels, which can lead to kidney failure and death. And a huge hidden risk. It's frequently cut with other substances the buyer doesn't know about, including cocaine, meth, or other drugs, which sharply raises the danger. LSD. Acid. Now into psychedelics. LSD is one of the most famous mind-altering substances ever, and its origin is almost comical. Swiss chemist Albert Hofmann first synthesized it in 1938 while looking for a blood stimulant, and its hallucinogenic effects stayed unknown until 1943, when he accidentally absorbed some himself. It's staggeringly potent. An amount equal in weight to a few grains of salt is enough to produce vivid hallucinations. LSD doesn't produce a high so much as a completely altered state. Intense visual distortions, profound and sometimes bizarre thoughts, and a warped sense of time and self. A trip that can last many hours and can be euphoric or terrifying. It became the chemical symbol of the 1960s counterculture, championed by figures like Harvard professor Timothy Leary and tied forever to the hippie movement, the Beatles' psychedelic era, and Woodstock. Psilocybin, magic mushrooms, the natural cousin of LSD. Psilocybin mushrooms are eaten, brewed into tea, or added to food to produce a high. They cause hallucinations, altered perception, and shifts in mood and thinking, similar in spirit to LSD, but usually shorter. Notably, some of these psychedelics are now being seriously studied by scientists as potential treatments for depression and addiction, which is a fascinating turn for substances long treated purely as street drugs. Ketamine. Ketamine is a dissociative drug originally used as an anesthetic. Recreationally, it produces a floaty, detached, dreamlike state, and in higher amounts, a fully dissociated experience users call a K-hole, where they feel disconnected from their body and reality. Like psychedelics, it's now being studied and used medically in controlled settings for severe depression, which shows how blurry the line between medicine and street drug often is. The dangerous newer ones. Beyond the classics, there's a whole category of newer, often more dangerous substances.
Bath salts are synthetic stimulants that can cause severe agitation and psychosis. There are synthetic cannabinoids sold under names like spice, which are far more unpredictable and dangerous than actual marijuana.
And there are horrific substances like crocodile, notorious for the catastrophic damage they do to the body. These lab-made drugs are especially risky precisely because nobody using them really knows what's in them. The big picture. So let's zoom out, because there's an important takeaway here. Researchers have actually studied which drugs cause the most harm. In one well-known UK analysis, when you rank drugs by total harm to both the user and society, heroin, crack cocaine, and methamphetamine came out as the most harmful. And strikingly, the legal status of a drug often has surprisingly little to do with how dangerous it actually is, with alcohol ranking as one of the most harmful of all. That's the real point of understanding all this. These substances show up constantly in the music, movies, and stories we love, often made to look cool, rebellious, or glamorous. But behind almost every one of them is the same recurring pattern: a short-lived high followed by real, lasting damage, whether that's addiction, health destruction, or death. The most powerful thing you can have isn't the experience. It's the knowledge of exactly what these things are and what they actually do. If you found this breakdown informative, hit that like button and subscribe for more explainers that give you the real facts. And if you or someone you know is struggling with any of this, please reach out to a doctor or a support line. There's always help available, and it's never too late. I'll see you in the next one.